time understood. I haven't even
I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Yakov Smith Shlita on the topic of Krias Hamita. We would like to have the great chatzos sponsoring a shir called Irgun Shir Torah at 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. Rav Smith.
This week I realized once again, you live and learn. We started with a few simple shaylos about the mitzvah of Krias Hamita, whether it's the order to say it, are you allowed to talk, when are you allowed to talk, when don't you say it. We had an interesting shayla about Tisha B'Av. Someone asked, does he have to say the whole Krishma, because Tisha B'Av we're not supposed to be learning so much. I looked into it and I saw a magnificent sugya, literally kipshutai, we have a recited Torah. But I think what's important to understand before we go to the actual halacha l'maisa, that there are really three independent, different parts of Krias Hamita. The actual Krias that we say, whether one parsha or three parshas. Then you have the hamapil, which presumably is a bracha on sleep. And then you have the bulk of it, we're going to refer to as the psukim, the mizmorim, v'inoim, yeshiv v'seisa, hashkivenu, which we'll see soon is based on rishonim. But I think it's important to realize that these are three different parts of a mitzvah. And it's not like, take it or leave it. We'll soon see the shaykh to have a chiyuv of one without the other. What really we have to try to understand is, why are we saying Krishma if we already said it the way the Torah says, B'shach v'chov kumecha. We said it in the morning and we said it at night. So you might suggest, I figured it out. If you learn Daf Beis and Masechta Brachos, it's obvious that in those days they said Ma'ariv early. We say early Ma'ariv on during the summer Shabbos, but you see in the beginning of Brachos that they daven Ma'ariv early every night. So maybe Chazal built in to the system a Krias Hamita. This way you will make sure that you say Krias every single night. So even if you daven too early, at least you have a Krias at that emergency hatch, that safety net. But that's not true for a few reasons. And we have to learn the makar of the inyan of Krias Hamita, and we'll see how many reasons it can be that that's the Krias that we've been yatzar with. But hopefully we'll also see why we say Krias and when yes and when not. The source of Krias Hamita is the Gemara in Brachos, Daf Daled Amud Beis. Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Afal pi shekara Adam Krias b'beis haknesses. He already was yatzar the Krias of B'shach v'cha. Mitzvah l'kroisei al mitasei. Now that's a very strong lashon. According to most paiskim, it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, just like Chanukah and Purim, to say Krias Hamita. How do you know? So the Gemara quotes the pasuk in Tehillim, Rigzu v'al techato imru b'lvavchem al mishkavchem v'doy musela. So Rashi explains, you have to say bilvavchem, bilvavcha, Krias al mishkavchem, on your bed, and v'doy musela, and then lights out, no talking. We'll soon see that's why you're not supposed to talk after Krias. But had this been the Krias that we're being yatzar with, so the Gemara should say, how do you have to say Krias? B'shach v'cha. Why did the Gemara bring a pasuk imru b'lvavchem? Is klar v'detag that you were yatzar already the Krias by Ma'ariv. Either you daven Ma'ariv bizman, or else set it over bizman. I mean, the Gemara says, Af shekara adam Krias b'beis haknesses. So we definitely see that there's a mitzvah to say Krias Hamita, even if you yatzar Krias shel arvis. There's no mention of hamapil. We'll soon see that's a different Gemara. Then the Gemara adds a very interesting chiddush. Im Talmud Chacham hu ein tzarich. So Rashi explains that Talmud Chacham that's constantly learning, when he goes to sleep or when he's on his bed, he's thinking of Torah. He doesn't have to say Krias. Now, had this Krias been the regular Krias of B'shach v'cha, Talmud Chacham is not potter from Krias. Even Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was potter from tefillah, but not from mitzvahs. So we definitely see something that this Krishma is besides the regular Krishma Shal Arvis. But we started to get an insight what's Krishma Shal Mita all about. The Krishma is a schus, is the schus of Torah. A kleinigkeit, the more inside the Chaf Aleph, Torah bein beidna the asik be bein the iding loy asik be migna umatzli. A person's going to sleep. He wants to connect to the enormous schus of Torah. Now it could be one or two pshatim, and they're both probably right. Either the simple pshat, you go to sleep like a yid, you first learn a little bit. The Gemara says in Brachas Yudalid, Hamazbiya atzmai b'divrei Torah v'lon ein mavasu noisa b'soyres rois. A person that learns first and then goes to sleep won't have bad dreams. Baruch Hashem, my 9th grade Rabbi told us and ingrained in us, before you go to sleep, take out a sefer, you go to sleep like a yid. So the simple reason for Krishma Hamita is to go to sleep mitoich divrei Torah. Now why did they choose Krishma? I guess that's pashut. Krishma is all malchus shemayim. It's the premium of divrei Torah. But it seems there's a little more to this. It's not just limud Torah per se, but it's a very necessary shmira. In fact, the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yitzchak, this is Daf Hayim and Aleph in Brachis, Kol HaKoyer Krias Mal Mitasai, Kilu Oiches Cherev Shel Shtei Piyos. It's as if he's holding on to a double-edged sword. Now, that's, of course, a mashal to what we call, in English, heavy artillery. A person needs some really powerful protection. What do Chazal recommend? Say Krishma. Rashi explains, Laharig es hamazikim. In fact, the Gemara adds, Kol HaKoyer Krishma mitasai mazikim b'deilu haymen. It more brings a pasuk. Now, what's going on? But it's not just the Bavli. The Yushalmi in Brachis Aleph Aleph, Adam tzarech likrei Shema beveisai b'shvil havriach es hamazikim. A person has to chase away all of the mazikim. In fact, the Yushalmi tells a story about Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani. He would say Krishma over and over until he fell asleep. And that's the way he understood Imru bilvavchem, al mishgavchem, v'day musela. So incidentally, you see the last thing to say in the night is Kriyas Shema. But Rabbi said what we see is Kriyas Shema is a very necessary protection. In fact, the Gemara says even a Talmud Chacham doesn't have to say Kriyas Shema, should say at least the pasuk b'yodchav kid ruchi. Because even a Talmud Chacham needs Shmira. Now, what is the Pshat? So very briefly, there are many halachos, I'll mention just a few, that night is associated with mazikim. Talmud Chacham shouldn't go out at night. A regular person should not sleep alone, in a home alone. Uvoi sirmas kol chayis sayar. Night is a time that is more prevalent to have mazikim, to have shadim, etc. But there's another factor, and that is sleeping. Sleep, says the Gemara, is 1/60th of Misa. And that's not a joke. Every morning we make a bracha. Hamachze nishamois livgorim mesim. I rather not teach that, but that's Misa. I once saw Dava Nifl, the Teres Chaim, that's one of the Kadmoinim in Bava Basra Nun Ches, says that's really the Pshat of the Gemara in Pesachim Kuf Yud Beis. You shouldn't keep food under your bed. Why? Because when a person's sleeping at night, he's like a mace. So under the bed is like an oil of a mace, and it's matama di oichel. Azoi vayit, sleeping is misa. And it's a tremendous chesed Hashem. We wake up. I once heard from one of my Rabbi, he lived in the Haim in Europe. He said there was once one morning a child was running through the streets. To get the pella, Yankel sich gelegt schlafen, and they didn't wake up. He never died in his sleep. So an old Yid called Moses, says, "Yeah, komm her, mein Jingelam. Das bei dir der Pella. Der Pella sagt, man geht schlafen und man steht doch auf yeah. Hamachs in the shamas of Gara Mesa." So it's a double factor. It's night, and you're sleeping at night. That needs a powerful protection. And that's taka why, when you sleep by day, let's say a person stayed up a whole night shvuas and he's sleeping a nice few hours in the morning, Or some people that work at night and sleep by day, there's no din of Krias Shema, there's no din of hamapil. Hamapil and Krias Shema was for night sleeping. A person that goes to sleep before night and sleeps all night does not say hamapil. It's tzeisa kechavim until alois. That's when Krias Shema and hamapil is said. So in other words, it's the factor of sleeping at night requires a powerful shmirah. Now, the Krias Shema, like I said, either the Pashat Pshat, and that's the sheet of most Rishonim, which is really come out of Beferish Gemara, it's the Shmir min HaMazikim. As I mentioned, there's the Rabbeinu Yonis, O'Neill, the Muki Yosef, and you look in the Tshuvas HaGoinim and the Magen Avram, in our Simon Reish Lam Betesif Cotton Bays mentions this. There's also a factor to go to sleep mitoich divrei Torah. So Krias Shema is the primary divrei Torah. The Rashbash, one of the Rishonim in Kufayin Dalet, says that they're masakin Krias Shema Hamita, either to go to sleep mitoich divrei Torah or to protect from mazikim. This is basically the reason for the Krias Shema. We did not see one word about hamapil. Where's hamapil? Hamapil is a second Gemara, a different Gemara, and that's Brachas Daf Samach Amud Beis. And since every word is precious, I'm going to read every word. Hanichnas lishan al mitasai. Now it seems something more. You don't have to be in bed when you say hamapil. When you go in to go to sleep, oima mishma Yisrael ad v'hoyim shemoya. You say from Shema until v'hoyim shemoya. V'oime baruch hamapil, and you say the entire nusach of hamapil chevlei shein. This is the source of hamapil, but we also see another important bits of information. First of all, we see the order of Krias Shema. It says first Shema and then hamapil. And you look, almost every siddur says hamapil first. We'll get back to that. Also, a very unusual lashon. It says say from Shema until v'hoyim shemoya. Now, Rabbi say that seems to be inaccurate because Shema is in Parshas Veschanan. V'hoyim shemoya is in Parshas Eikev. Is the Gemara saying you have to be Ma'av Sedra every night from Shema till v'hoyim shemoya? Doesn't make sense. Why didn't the Gemara say the first parsha or Shema Yisrael? Why until v'hoyim shemoya? We'll soon get back to that. But we definitely see this is the source of hamapil. But we don't yet see the bulk, what we call the psukim. And that's a third Gemara in Shavuos Daf Tezvav Amud Beis. There the Gemara speaks about various shirais, the shir shel toida, shir shel pegoyim. Rashi says pegoyim is mazikim shepoigim b'bnei adam. What is shir shel pegoyim? As we know, Yoshev b'seiser elyon. Zakti Gemara, Rabbi Shua ben Levi would say the shir shel pegoyim and then go to sleep. This is the source of saying v'hinoyam Yoshev elyon before you go to sleep. In the Gemara, we only see v'hinoyam. The Torah and Reish Lam Betes and much more bariches. If you want to see everything clearly, the Mate Moshe from Siman Shin Peites all the way to Siman Taf Beis goes through the entire Seder of the Psukim, beginning with Vinoyam until after Adoin Olam. Ayin Sham V'Timtza. But this is the third part of Krias Shema, what we call the Psukim. But what's really interesting, that it seems that the Psukim are not as important as the rest of Krias Shema. First of all, it's only Rabbi Shua ben Levi did it. In fact, the Rambam in Perik Zayin does not mention saying the Psukim. Zokter Chashochin in Sif Dalid, because the Rambam held, like the Yishalmi, you have to go to sleep, mitoich Shema. Rabbi Shua ben Levi did it, good for him, but that's not a chiyuv on us. Now, we definitely say it, we definitely follow the Shulchan Aruch that quotes V'inoim, Yoshev elyon, Ashkivenu, etc., etc., but as the Magen Avram says, it's not a chiyuv gomer, and b'makom oynis or choyli, someone is very, very shvach. He should know the most important parts are the Shema Yisrael, hamapil, and at least one pasuk, b'yodchav kid ruchi, if someone is pressed for time. Those three should be said. But Rabbi said, I wish I had more time to speak about the Krias Shema Hamita, the importance of it, but it suffice to quote a Gemara. The Gemara says in Brachas Daf Ches Amud Beis, Rava told his children, Al Teishru Al Mitas Aramis. Don't go on to a goyish bed. It's very strange. What does that mean? Who would go on to a goyish bed? So the Gemara explains, he meant to say, don't go to sleep without Krias Shema. So the obvious implication is a Yid that goes to sleep without Krias Shema is like a goy. I mean, I don't want to say this, but that's the Gemara says. Imagine a person goes to sleep, he sleeps 6 hours a night without saying Krias Shema. So a quarter of his life he's a goy. That's the Gemara says. But the good news is, we learned not long ago in Parshas Balak, it's Perik Chav Gimel Pasuk Chav Dalid, that even the Bilam HaRasha understood what a Yid is. Lo yishkav ad yoichel teref. Zok Rashi, a Yid will not go to sleep until he destroys all the mazikim, because he says Krias Shema Hamita. So there you have a synopsis of the cheshivas of Krias Shema Hamita. Without Krias Shema Hamita, Rachmana is like going to sleep like a guy, and that's the essence of a Yid sleep. He says Krias Shema Hamita. Another point to mention that you see from the Gemara that I mentioned in the Samach Amud Beis discusses the Seder Hayoim, the Seder of Meya Brachas of Krias Shema, of a day, I'm sorry. And Haloi Davahu, the Gemara's first bracha is hamapil. And then it goes in the Birchas HaShachar. And all the Achrayim wonder, Memanashach. If a Yid's day begins at night, so you start the night with the Birchas Krias Shema, Shema Yesra. If the Yid's day starts by day, so start Birchas HaShachar. How do you start with hamapil and then Birchas HaShachar? So the obvious message is that really the day begins by day. The Meya Brachas begins by day. But the day begins with hamapil. Like the Welt says it so succinctly, Beget Shlafen v'Aferd, I'm not going to say. Beget Shlafen v'Ayid, Shachav Kari, he wakes up, he's Gaba Kari. So really the day begins by day. But hamapil is the beginning of the day. You go to sleep with a gezunta, geshmaka, the hoibin a Krias Shema, you wake up like an Ari, and you're ready for his Gaba Kari. But one thing I will point out, now to apply this more lamaisa, someone asked me, what's more important, the Shema or the hamapil? So that's very hard to answer. Because the Ikka Krias Shema Hamita is the Krias Shema. As we'll soon see, there's a question, why would I make a bracha on it? But it's really unfair to say which is more important. Each has its own significance. Krias Shema Hamita, Be'ikka is the Krias Shema, that's the Shmira. Hamapil is the bracha on the sleep. And it's important, it's kedai, I wish I had more time, but to appreciate the Krias Shema and the hamapil. You know, really the hamapil needs a share for itself, but the Pais can point out that if you make a bracha, which we do before we eat or drink, you certainly have to make hamapil before going to sleep. Because la'alocha, sleep is a bigger hana than eating. How do I know that? Because you're allowed to eat a chilas arai chutz l'sukkah, but Shena, even Arai is also chutz l'sukkah. And that's why, I wish I had more time, but the hamapil is a very necessary bracha. The Bechaim is quoted as saying, some people are afraid to say hamapil, they won't fall asleep, they might talk out. So the Bechaim said, better talk out many times, but don't go to sleep without saying hamapil. Okay, some don't say hamapil, but for those that do say it, it should be a sacred obligation. If we make a bracha on a cup of soda, we certainly have to make a bracha on the enormous hana of Shena. Okay, it's true that really, I wish I had, that would be for a different share, there's no isser hefsik per se of talking out after hamapil. It's only rigzu val techtu im vavchem adayim musela, because it's not a bracha on my sleep. It's like a birchas hashacha on minhag shalayla. Now, we try not to talk out after hamapil, but if someone has to make an yatzar, or he gets very thirsty, you're allowed to make a shakal and burn the fashais. Again, lechatchila, don't talk out after hamapil, but mi'ikad din, it's a bracha on minhagi shel oilam, And just like a Suma makes the bracha Pekeach Ivrim, even though he doesn't see, we make a bracha on sleep. Now, of course, if you don't go to sleep at night, we don't say hamapil. But if a person has to talk out, someone asked me, he forgot to say one svira, and after hamapil. Why do you say svira? Because, again, it's not a real hefsik like other birchas hana. But the point is, the mere fact that there's a big discussion, it probably could be a 15-minute share. Why is there no bracha said on Krias Malamita? It's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. I'll say it's only d'Rabbanan, but then again we make a bracha on Chanukah and Purim. So Tosfos in Chul and Kufhei, and most Rishonim say the same teretz, since the Krias Malamita is only al Shmira, we don't make a bracha on Shmira. And Tosfos' raya is the fact that there's no bracha on Mayim Achreinim. Mayim Rishonim, when you wash your hands for bread, you make a bracha. Why is there no bracha on Mayim Achreinim? So Tosfos for Shmira, there's no bracha. And Tosfos connects that. That's why there's no bracha on Krias Malamita. But it's interesting, the Ramah in Sif Aleph makes a point of saying, Ve'ein mevarchen al Krias on this Krias Malamita. Now, of course, he doesn't, the Havmin is not to make a bracha on hamapil. You don't make a bracha on a bracha. But we have to realize this. Krias Shema al Hamita, the parsha of Shema, is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. So much so, there's a Havmin to make a bracha on it. So basically, we have to treat the Krias Shema very, very carefully. Someone asked me, he doesn't say hamapil at night, that's his minig. Is there an issue to talk out after Krias Shema? That's in the Ferish Gemara. The Gemara Daf Dalid, Daf Hey, says, you say Krias Shema, v'doimu sela. That Gemara is only talking about hamapil, about Krias Shema. And still the Gemara is not to talk out. And if you look in the Shulchan Aruch and Sif Aleph, the Shulchan Aruch says to say Krias Malamita and don't talk out. That's going on Krias Shema part. In fact, Mr. Brewer says if someone said Krias Shema and had to talk out, let him repeat the Krias Shema. Because you say Krias Shema v'daimu sel. After hamapil, one should not talk out, but if he did talk out, you don't repeat the bracha, that not. But the Krias Shema is a very important part of Krias Shema al Hamita. The Meiri and the Avdallah and Beis and Bracha says, even though the Gemara says al mitasai is lav dafka, you're supposed to say it be'ema uveyira. You know, I told someone, Zmirais yoimeru, you're allowed to say Zmiras. But Krias Shema al Hamita is kabos al malchus shemaim. You have to do it, not just say it. It's a very important part of a Yid's going to sleep. I found two of the earlier poskim, the Shlom Masech Chula and the Yosef Oimitz in Kuf Pei Aleph. They both say Krias Shema al Hamita like you say the regular Krias Shema. Even though it's not regular Krias Shema, but give it the same chashivas. The Yosef Oimitz recommends saying Krias Shema al Hamita from a siddur or a card, as many people do. The main thing is make a matzav out of it. You know, you take out a siddur, or take out a bench or a kartel, and you say it. So you're making a matzav out of it. He also points out that you should, use that siddur. Again, it's the attitude that makes it chashuv. The Mekar Chaim, the Chavasiyah, and our Simon points out, be careful, don't do anything else when you're saying Krias Shema. Now this is a big nisayim, because the person has a lot of things to do. He has to fill up his negavas, he has to change. Some people have it down to a science. From they start their nightly procedure, they finish the whole Krias Shema al Hamita. Not a good idea. You give it your undivided attention, then you could change and fill up the negavas, etc. Someone asked me, could you say Krias Shema al Hamita in pajamas? So again, a regular Krias Shema, if this is your night, your Krias Shema shel arvis, it's inappropriate in pajamas. But if you look in the Ramah and Sif Aleph, he says, say Krias Shema samach mitasai elayishon miyad. The Seder Yoim says you both say Krias Shema when you're about to fall asleep. So obviously you're not changing after Krias Shema al Hamita, so yes, you're allowed to say Krias Shema in pajamas. That's the proper attire for Krias Shema al Hamita. Now I am aware some people are makpid, they say Krias Shema al Hamita with hat, jacket, and gartel. Wonderful. I have very fond memories when I was a bach in the dormitory. I think there were 3 dinim. Some people said Krias Shema, any old way. Some people said it with hats, jackets, and gartel, and some people said it with robe, pajamas, and hats and gartel. That was interesting. But so the Dinim, whatever you do, but again, the main thing is to take it very seriously. So a Bach in Yeshiva asked me, he wants to say Krias Shema Hamita in Beis Medrash. I said, why? So I had a noise. He doesn't want to wake up his roommate. I guess he says it Nusach Stolen, a little Koil Rum. Now, or, this maybe he didn't tell me, but sometimes the dorm room is so buzzing, it's not conducive for Krias Shema Hamita. Lamaisa, the Gemara's Lashon is Hanichnis Lishan al Mitasa. Sound like you're supposed to say it in a bedroom or a dorm room. But that's klar. There's no din of shini makom regarding Krias Shema. It's not like, you can't make a shackle in Beis Medrash and drink in the dorm room. But Krias Shema is before sleep. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Alich Shlomo Yud Gimel Ha'orach Av Dalid has this very question. Can you say, the Bacha wanted to say Krias Shema in the Beis Medrash not to disturb his roommates. So not only allowed to say Krias Shema in Beis Medrash, but even hamapil. Now again, it's not a bracha on sleep like shackles a bracha on a cup of soda. It's a bracha on the floyas habari that's called shena. So he's even makel to say hamapil in Beis Medrash and then go to sleep. The Avnei Yoshvi and Chelik Dalad Lamed Zayin has more of an arichas. He says even though you're supposed to go to sleep right away, but you're allowed to say it in a Beis Medrash if that will bring a better Krias Shema al Hamita. I heard one of the camps, this is a big chiddush, but they want to make sure the boys say Krias Shema al Hamita, but many boys don't. So after Ma'ariv, they say Krias Shema al Hamita without hamapil. Then they have night activities, and then they say hopefully hamapil with Krias Shema. But again, it's a chinuch to make sure the boys say at least the bulk of Krias Shema. Now he told me he says Krias Shema after Ma'ariv every night. I said, I hope you don't say it during your shir. No, that not. But he says the Krias Shema al Hamita after Ma'ariv, and this way he goes to sleep. And then he goes home, he says the hamapil and Shema. So again, it's, a person has to be orim b'yir, like the Gemara says, do things properly. How do you say the Krias Shema? Do you say it standing, sitting, or laying down? That's a good question. Regarding the regular Krias Shema of Arvis, Rabbi Yoina and the Beis Yosef and Simon Samach Gimel quotes it, says it's even though halach you're allowed to say Krias Shema laying down, any way you say it, but it's more proper to say Krias Shema either sitting or standing. In our Simon Reish Lamed Tes, the Shulchan Aruch sends you to Simon Samach Gimel. In other words, say Krias Shema the way you, Hamita, the way you say Krias Shema at night. Now, what does he mean to say? Obviously, you're allowed to say it either sitting, standing, or laying down. The lashon of the Gemara, likroisai al mitasai, maybe indicates you're supposed to say it laying down, al mitasai. But that's not true for two reasons. First of all, I told you earlier, the Meiri says al mitasai is lavdafka. Al mitasai is samach lemitasai. But more so, the lashon of the Gemara in Brachas Samach Amid Beis, hanichnas lishon al mitasai, says Krias Shema. So obviously there's no chiyuv to say it laying down. The Mishnah Berurah and Sivkot and Vav, quoting the Magen Avram, says you could say it either sitting, standing, or lying down. But then the Mishnah Berurah quotes Prima Godam and Chai Adam, Lechatchila Sama Machmet to say it either b'amida or b'yeshiva, not lying down. Why? He says, even though halach it's mutter, but I guess it's more of a covet for the Krias Shema. Then the Sharat Tzion adds a bit of practical advice. It's not advisable to say Krias Shema lying down. Why? Because from lying down to falling asleep is almost inevitable. If you're going to start laying down, you're going to end up saying Krias Shema sleeping, which is not a way to say Krias Shema. So we could say Lamaisa, you could say Krias Shema laying in position, but it's advisable to say the Krias Shema actually either sitting or standing. The mapil, that is more of a tzad to say it lying down. I saw the Munkatshe and Daka Chaim V'Shalom, Shin Memches, said hamapil laying down, and then V'day Musela. There is a sheet of the Das Torah, the Bejanarov quotes the Tashbitz, the Maram, Rutenberg, that said that was makbid to say hamapil standing, but the Poiskim, the El Yerab, and others say that's only a hiddur. I think the Ikka is to look at the words and say it appropriately. You know, there are beautiful words, v'seinchal ki b'sarasecha. I mean, just these words, think about it, which is based on Lashon HaGemara, we conclude v'sei mitasi shleima lefanecha. So Rashi says, Shelo yeh psul v'rasha b'zari. It's an unbelievable opportunity. You know, like we have so many problems in Chinuch Habonim. Every night a Yid says a tefillah, I should have good children. Shelo yeh psul v'rasha b'zari, the mitasi shleima lefanecha. So look at the words, appreciate every word is vital, and say it accordingly. You know, to say it laying down, sitting or standing, but the ikka is not, it shouldn't be, you know, zriza magdim la mitzvahs. I'm going to say it laying down, and then the next thing you know is it's the next morning. Say the word of hamapil, of krishma, say it properly. What has to be said? So obviously, if a person davened early and didn't yet say krishma bizman, so now the hamapil by default, the krishma almita by default is his krishma shel arvus. So avadi has to say the 3 parshas kahoigen. But it's not advisable to leave the krishma shel arvus until hamapil. First of all, he might forget, he might fall asleep, he might forget and just say the first parsha. But also, very often, by the time a person says hamapil, they have to chatzos. And we do not delay krishma shel arvus beyond chatzos. So it's not a good idea to say krishma, to leave the krishma shel arvus for the hamapil, even though you could do that, but it's not a good idea. So we're talking about a person was yatzar krishma shel arvus. Now it's just a kleinikite, but it's just the krishma alamita. What has to be said? So pashtus, we would say krishma has one meaning. Krishma is 3 parshas. So you have to say the whole 3 parshas. But that can't be. Because the Gemara in Brachas, Daf Samach Amud Beis, says beferish, you say from Shema until Vayim Shemoya. So it's clear, Midina Gemara, all you have to say for Krishma Alamita is the first parsha. And the truth is, most Rishonim and most Apoiskim say that's all you have to say. You say it until Vayim Shemoya. From the Gdoli Apoiskim, the Matei Moshe and Shin Tzadik, and in our times, the Aruch HaShulchan in Sifhei Ameyid, that the minig is to say just the first parsha until Vayim Shemoya. But to me, where you see how every Vor Torah is nitzchias, some have a minig to say the first 2 parshas. Now that's strange. 2 parshas, like Mandachar Shmei. So if you look at the Rach, one of the Rishonim, it seems that he focused on the fact the Gemara says that the source of Krias Malamita is Bilvavchem. And where do we say Bilvavchem? In the 2nd parsha. So therefore, from the original source, it's kedai to say 2 parshas. However, our minig is 1 parsha, I Bilvavchem. So if you look at Rashi on that Gemara, Rashi says Bilvavcha. Bilvavchem is Bilvavcha. Where do you say Bilvavcha? In the 1st parsha. So it's enough, the 1st parsha. And indeed, the Mechaber in Sif Aleph says, Parsha Rishayna Shel Shema, and then you say hamapil. So mi'ikad din, the 1st parsha is enough. But what to me, you see, the sheinkite of Torah, we had a big question. Do you have to say from Shema till Hayim Shemoya, the end of Vaschan and the beginning of Eikev? What kind of lashon is that in the Gemara? Zok Tzlach, on this Gemara, the Gemara wanted to allude that you have to say Baruch Shem. If the Gemara would say the parsha of Shema, I need not tell you that Baruch Shem is not in the Torah. So you would think just say Shema. Just 1st parsha, you wouldn't say Baruch Shem. So the Gemara thought of a way of mentioning, say Shema and Baruch Shem. How do you do that? By saying until V'hayim Shemoya. Hopefully you'll realize it doesn't mean saying in the Torah until V'hayim Shemoya. Say in the Siddur until V'hayim Shemoya. In other words, Shema and Baruch Shem and V'yahavta. So Zok Titzlach, the carefully chosen Lashon HaGemara until V'hayim Shemoya is to allude to the fact that you say Shema, Baruch Shem, and V'yahavta. And this is the minig, as we said, that was the minig of the Shulchan Aruch, and many people have this minig ad hayoim, just to say the first parsha, Shema and V'hafta, with Baruch Shem. However, I must mention the Magen Avram quotes Rabbeinu Yeruchim, that since Krias Shema is al Shmira, and we want maximum Shmira, we have to make sure to say Ramach words of Krias Shema that corresponds to the Ramach Evorim. So therefore the minig, and certainly al pi Kabbalah, is to say the complete 3 parshias of Shema to make sure you have Ramach Tevais Keneged Ramach Evorim. Now you can understand why the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkan Aleph, quoting Machzah Shekel, says, make sure you say also Kel Melech Neman. Because if you say the entire 3 parshas, you're still short 3 words. If you say Kel Melech Neman, you have Ramach words Keneged Ramach Evorim. So I think we could say the 2 main minhagim is Shema, Baruch Shem, V'Yohavta, or the entire Krias Shema 3 parshas, including Kel Melech Neman. I don't think there's a minig to say just 2 parshas, even though that is a minig that the Rishonim seem to mention. What's interesting is that if you only say the first parsha, there's no reason to say Kel Melech Neman, because you're not getting near 248 words. I Baruch Shem, that's the Tzlach's insistence, because that's part of the Shema, Baruch Shem, and V'Yohavta. Now in the Oitzat Tefillah Siddur I looked into, it says Kel Melech Neman, and it says in the side, only if you say the 3 parshas. I'm nothing wrong with saying it, but there's no reason. To me, a chiddush, in some Siddurim, it's Kel Melech Neman, Shema, and only V'Yohavta. That doesn't even make sense, because there's no reason for that. I mean, nothing wrong with saying it, but the Ikka K'peidah is to say Kel Melech Neman if you're going to say the 3 parshas. Next group of questions is who is mechuyev in Krias Shema Lamita. So if you recall, the Gemara has a shita, a Talmud Chacham is potter. But the Rambam or Shulchan Aruch do not mention this clergy exemption of a Talmud Chacham. Why? Now this is Masig Midvash. Zog the Tfera Shmuel on the Rosh, Sif Cotton Zayin, Adarabah. They're more mazikim by a Talmud Chacham. The Gemara says in Brachas, the Talmud Chacham has to need a shmir at night. A Talmud Chacham. So Zok there, beautiful Yisoid. If the reason for Krias Shema Lamita is only to go to sleep mitoich divrei Torah, then a Talmud Chacham doesn't need it, because he's thinking of Torah, or saying Torah. But since there's a second reason, al shmira, a Talmud Chacham needs more shmira. Plus, he adds, who's a Talmud Chacham in our times? And that's indeed why there's no mention in the Poskim, Shulchan Aruch or Rambam, and therefore even a Talmud Chacham should say a regular Krias Shema Lamita. L'chayra, what's the biggest raya? The Gemara, Rava told his children, don't go to sleep in the Goyish bed without Krias Shema. Maybe they were Talmidei Chachamim. The answer is, we don't pass like that. Shita that a Talmud Chacham is potter. Now, one thing I think is pashut. Even if a person feels, let's say a person says, I'm a Talmud Chacham. So first of all, let him learn a little Musa and get the facts straight. But even so, he's chayiv in hamapil holidays. Even if you hold like the Gemara that a Talmud Chacham is potter, that's only from Shmira or Divrei Torah. But mapil has nothing to do with Talmud Chacham. Plus, as we said, most Poskim do not accept that kula of Rabbi Shimon Levi. So a Talmud Chacham should say the entire package of Krias Shema. Listen to a beautiful shaila, which is negayah to half of Klal Yisrael, and it's very much related to our sugya today. Are women chayiv in Krias Shema Lamita? So you're probably wondering, why yes, why not? So here we'll use our facts. If the side of Krias Shema is to go to sleep mitoich divrei Torah, women are not mitzvah in Talmud Torah. Hamapil, maybe since, as we said earlier, hamapil is only said by night, not by day, even that's your complete sleep, then evidently hamapil is a zman grama. So either way you look at it, women should be potter from Krias Shema Lamita. Und azoi steht in Magen Avram Sivkot Beis. Mashloi nahagu nashim la'oimroi, efshe de svirulei kivein enoyeg ela balayla, peturim, davish azman grama, kemoishe peturim mi Krias Shema. And that's a beautiful yesod. If women are definitely parted from Krias Shema, so how could Krias Shema Hamita be more chamer? So the Magen Avram seems to be convinced there is no chiyah for women to say Krias Shema Hamita. Now this is a pella, because even if they're parted from hamapil, because of Zman Grama, but what about Shmira? Atu nashi loiboyi Shmira. And indeed, the El Yerab in the end of Sivkot and Dalid, he says, Ve'enei nachayin. Magen Avram is not right. The Atu gavra boyi Shmira nash loy. He's alluding to the Gemara that says that why are nashim chayiv and tefillah? Ayat says Zman Grama, nashi loiboyi rachami. We once spoke about the sugya of tefillas haderach, that even though women are potter from davening ma'ariv l'mashal, but they're not potter from tefillas haderach. Why? Because women need shmira, and tefillas haderach is shmira. And this is what the El Yerabba means to argue, women need shmira. Oh, but the only question is, and what did the Magen Avram hold? The Magen Avram didn't know the Gemara that you have to say Krias Shema Hamita al shmira. So if you look in the Pri Megadim in Eish Lavram Sivkot in the Beis, I think he means to say the Magen Avram held that the Ikka Krias Shema Hamita is to go to sleep with Divrei Torah, like we said from the Gemara in Brachos Tezvav. Oy bazoi, women are potter. But the El Yerabba held that the Ikka Krias Shema Hamita is al shmira. Atu nashi loiboi shmira. So that's why l'chayra, although the Magen Avram is mekel, but it seems that the taina is a starke taina. Women do need Krias Shema Hamita als to shmira. The question now is, okay, they should say Krias Shema, maskim, they should say the psukim, but do they have to say hamapil? Don't forget, hamapil is a separate mitzvah than Krias Shema Hamita. Maybe Taka the Magen Avram is right that it says man grama, and then they don't have to say it. But what's interesting is, although the Magen Avram says this, that Nashim don't say hamapil, the Paiskim seem to be aware of a minig that women say hamapil. The Pri Megadim, the Sharatzian, Sivkot Tezayin, the Aruch HaShulchan and Vav, all say that the women started saying hamapil even if they're chayiv. So it seems, even the pot, I'm sorry. So it seems this would be like women and the mitzvah of sukkah, lulav and shayfa, that undoubtedly they are potter, but if you want to make a bracha, you're allowed to. So it seems that women might be potter, that's true, it's only by night, but women were makabel the chiyuv. Now this is great, but it leaves one room for question. For neshei svarad that go with the shita, like Rabbeinu Tam and some Chassidim follow this minig, that women don't say the brachas on lulav, shayfa or sukkah because eina mitzvahis cannot make say b'tzivanu. For those that have that minig, should we say that women should not say hamapil? Now, if it's only al makabel achiv like shayfa, lulav, and sukkah, very good. But in the Shei Svar, and some Chassidim don't, like the Rabbeinu Tam Shita, that you can't say b'tzivanu, does that mean women should not say hamapil? The Teretz is pashit. Zog the Machzel Yo and Simon Chaf Aleph, that the problem with saying a bracha is the word b'tzivanu. There's no tzivui. But in hamapil there's no b'tzivanu. So if women were makabel to say it, they could say it just like the men. The Kavachayim Tzidkot and Aleph points out that women need shmira desperately, and it seems that's the minig that women do say Shema and hamapil. I saw the Sefer Sheres Yosef in our Simon Reish Lametes says, he says it in Hilchas Krishma. I'm sorry, that from a woman that says Krishma Lamita and says all three parshas should say Hashem Elokeichem Emes and Kel Melech Neman. In other words, Kel Melech Neman, Hashem Elokeichem Emes, and repeat it again. Why? Because they have Reish Nun Beis Eivarim. So Kel Melech Neman is still lacking three. So they have to say it and be a chazan and repeat Hashem Elokeichem Emes to have Reish Nun Beis Eivarim. Now this is all, again, from a woman, But mi'ikad din, I must mention, even men are only mechuyev to say the first parsha. So I saw Rav Sternbuch in Aleph Kuf Tzadik Ches points out, if an isha says, I can't say that a whole big nusach, it's too much for me. She can't. So what should be the minimum for an isha in Krishma Hamita? Hamapil, of course, Krishma, the first parsha, and at least b'yod chaf kid ruchi, at least one of the parshiyos of Shmira. Why do I say b'yod chaf kid ruchi? Because the Gemara chose that as Shmira. V'noyim is also a good idea, but at least to have one of each three of the parts of Krishma. Is a cotton chayiv in Krishma Hamita? So obviously he's not chayiv in any mitzvahs, but al chinuch, a child should be mechonach to say Krishma Hamita. And I would add, which I think is pashit, Krishma Hamita needs chizik for all of us, but it certainly needs a good chinuch for a child. So a parent should be mechanech his child in Krishma Hamita. The Ben Ish Chai in Shana Beis Kiseitzi Chav Beis adds a skula. If a child says Krishma Hamita, it will be a te'eles harbe liyiras shamayim. So we'll call it a skula for yiras shamayim. I just must mention one point, that as we said earlier, Krishma Hamita is only said at night. So when a child goes to sleep during the summer, if he's disciplined enough to go to sleep before Tzeis HaKechavim, he should not say Krishma Hamita. He should not say hamapil, because we don't say hamapil when you go to sleep by day, and that's not a chinuch to teach him and correct it. Now you'll ask me, if you don't say hamapil, so why do you have to say the whole Krishma? But that might be a good chinuch, because Mr. Brewer says even if you go to sleep by day, say something. I mean, you don't have to say hamapil or the full Krishma, but at least say avinoyim, something. So that you could mechanech a child, tell him really that if you don't say hamapil because it's still too early, but you should say Krishma, go to sleep with divrei Torah. So that you could be mechanech the child to say Krishma without the hamapil. Listen to a fascinating shayla. I hope it should not be negeya, but God was negeya to myself. And when it happens, a person has no idea what to do. An oinen lo yaleinu before kfura is part of all mitzvahs. He doesn't daven, no tefillin, no Krias Shema. When he goes to sleep the night before the levaya, does he say hamapil or Krias Shema? L'chayra, if he's potter from Krias Shema, and he's potter next morning from davening and tefillin, how could it not be potter from Krishma Hamita? And the emphasis is the fact that no one says an oinen is chayiv makes sense. Why? Because he's potter from all mitzvahs. Abshleim Bezalman and Mincha Shleima in Chelik Aleph, Simon Tzadik Aleph, in the end it's actually Sifkat and Tes, says almost like, matter of factly, that an oinen is chayiv in Krias Shema. Now, he doesn't say this, but I think he means to say the Krishma part, the psukim part, Avadi has to say. Because atu oinen lo yiboyu shmira, he doesn't say that, but that's what he means to say. He needs shmira. And I would add a bedugma, we once spoke about this in the same share about tefillas haderech, even though an oinen is potter from davening, but if he's going to the kfura, let's say to chutz le'ir, he says tefillas haderech, because he needs a shmira. So if Shlomo Zalman doesn't say it, but I think it's pashit that the shmira part, an oinen needs. I'll tell you a davar nifla, the Pischei Tshuva, on the page in Shin Memal of Dalar and Hilchas Avelos, says an oinen does not make a bracha on the bread he eats. He doesn't bench, but he has to wash mayim achronim. Now, Yitzil Ba'ar Gyur B'Shmei Shmaya, he doesn't bench, but mayim achronim, yeah? The Teretz says, yeah. Because there's no mitzvahs, but shmir he needs. So the Krishma part, that I could understand. But the Chiddush of Zalman says is, so why does he say hamapil? Why is different than any other bracha? So Zalman, since he's going to sleep, and he's not going to be busy with the mace at all, he's sleeping, he could do mitzvahs. Now that's of course a tremendous Chiddush, because, I'm not getting into Hilchas Aninis now, but when a person's an oinen, we don't start looking technicalities now. He's put up, someone flies on a Eretz Yisrael. So he's not much to do on a plane, even though sometimes things happen. And B'chlal, if there's a very efficient Chevra Kadisha, no one says an oinen is chayiv. So I saw the Badei HaShulchan in Shin Amal Sivkot Lamed Beis. He says the Stimas HaPoiskim that he's put from Krishma Hamita, and on the bottom he says Ein Reb Shlomo Zalman in Mincha Shleima. In other words, he doesn't want to argue with Shlomo Zalman. Basically, he does. So I think we could say that the Krishma part is there's much more of a sorrow to understand why he should say it. Hamapil pat hamavarech lo yifsid. But definitely, as far as hard to accept, because once a person's an oinen, we don't start looking at each individual situation. This l'chayra is as far as an oinen is concerned. If someone is not an oinen, but he's either he's a chayla or an oinen, because he can't say the whole nusach. So the Magen Avraham says the mizmoirim, the psukim are not a chiyuv. So as we said earlier, better say Krishma, hamapil, and vinoyim, or yodchav kedruchi, at least say a minimum amount of shmira. The next group of questions is, when is a person potter from Krishma Lamita? So I'll ask you a question, you might not understand the question, but it's a good question. Do we say Krishma Lamita Friday night, Leil Shabbos? You're wondering, what's the shaila? I'll tell you what the shaila is. Since we don't say in the Bracha Vashkiveinu, we don't say Shmar Tzeseinu, we don't end off Shema Yisrael Ad, because Leil Shabbos, Vishamu B'nei Yisrael is a Shabbos, so maybe you don't have to say Krias Malamita because it's a night of Shmira. But if you look in the Torah, in the beginning of Reish Pei, Hilchos Shabbos, the Kaira Krias Shema, Kibishar Leil. So you say the Krias Malamita like other nights. Zok the Bach, even though we don't say Shmar Tzeseinu, we don't end off Shema Yisrael Ad Friday night. That's as far as Shabbos having a shmira. But Shabbos is not a shmira from Mazikim. In fact, he sends you to Siman Reish Samach Zayin, where the Torah quotes Rabbeinu in the Torah going that Leil Shabbos there are more Mazikim. So there are two different categories. Leil Shabbos has a shmira, but it's not a shmira from Mazikim, and Krias Malamita is a shmira from Mazikim, so you better say Krias Malamita on Leil Shabbos. So therefore we could say clearly, Leil Shabbos Avada, you say it, and the truth is, the mere fact that there's a whole Siman Reish Lametes about Krias Malamita, and there's no mention of Leil Shabbos being different, is the greatest indication it's not different. Leil Seder, Pesach night, why should it be different? So that is a Leil Shimur. It seems to be an all-inclusive Shmira. That's why you're allowed to have zugais, and some say you're allowed to keep food under the bed even, because it's Leil Shimurim. But basically, this is why Taka the Ramah in Tov Pei Aleph says that you don't say Krias Malamita, only the first parsha. Now why the first parsha? To connect, to go to sleep, Matech Divrei Torah. Now that's strange, because he says don't say Krishma, only the first parsha. It seems to imply that you don't say hamapil, but that's not true. What does hamapil have to do with Leil Shimurim? And the Mishnah Berurah is quick to point that out as well. In other words, you don't have to say the psukim because it's a Leil Shimurim. But Shema al Torah and hamapil al hamapil. Leil Shimurim has no impact on it being a Leil Shimurim. But here we see clearly it's not one package. You could have Krishma without hamapil. You could have hamapil without the psukim. Shema, how much you say, each one has to be dealt with individually. Someone asked me just recently, he says, I didn't see you on Tisha B'Av, but Tisha B'Av, he had a question, does he say the full Kriya Shema Lamita? Now what's the shaila? Because since we're saying it's psukim, it's chus ha-Torah, Tisha B'Av we don't learn Torah. But I told him again, the Shulchan Aruch in Hilchos Tisha B'Av is very detailed. What you say in the Ma'ir of Matzoi Shabbos, and you leave out the Psukkah and Izais Brisian, and everything is detailed. Why don't they say there's no Krias Malamita? So apparently, since you need Shmira, and it's also a Seidah HaTfilah, like we say Aziyashia, which is Torah, and we say other Psukkim, which is Torah, as long as it's part of the Seidah HaTfilah, you say Krishma Kehoigen. And if you look in the Yisod Sharas Avoida, Vayikra Krishma Alamita, and go to sleep. It seems that there's no difference, Tisha B'Av, any other night. Hagam, we try to avoid Torah, but this is a Shmira Dika Torah. The Shem Shmuel in Sukkah's Daf Kuf Mem Ches says when you sleep in the Sukkah, you do not have to say Krias Malamita, because the Sukkah is a Shmira. And that reminds me a little bit about the Ma'is Rav and the Goyin and Reish Chaf Aleph says you're not allowed to sleep alone in a home, but you're allowed to sleep in the Sukkah because the Sukkah is a protection. But I must say, most Paiskim reject this, that the fact that there are 7 nights that was zoych to sleep in the Sukkah, Why didn't they say in halacha not to say Hamita? The Teres is pashut. If it's a leil shimurim, the night is mishuma. You don't have to say hamapil. You don't have to say krishma. I'm sorry. But if it's just my protection from a sukkah, but it's not a universal leil shimurim, then you have to say the regular krishma and certainly hamapil. There are a few other parts of krishma I wanted to mention. The first is based on an incredible Gemara, a irresistible offer. In the Megillah Chav Ches, the Gemara, they asked one of the Tanoim, Bameh harachti yamim? So he responded, I never went to sleep without being moichel those that pained me. The Zohar Kodesh in Parashat Miketz is a story of a person that was saved twice from certain death, because he always had the custom of forgiving people before he went to sleep. Based on this, the Mishnah Berurah quotes the minig of some to say Hareini Moichel. Now, if you want to see the actual nusach, you could either find it in the Kaf HaChaim Sivkot and Beis, or I think all the standard Sidurim have the Hareini Moichel, Chom Yisheches V'Hikdedaisi. The Seder Hayoim gives a very strong incentive to say it. He says the Bar Shloim is also, aggravated by people, but he's Moichel. And what are us? He says, Anachnu Yitushim, Afelim, Shvelim. We have to be moichel anybody that bothers us. Okay, I did see Rabbi Tzina Bashol in Arletzi and Tezvav Yud Gimel says if you're still angry at the person and you don't really mean the mechila, so don't say it. You're not allowed to lie to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't mean don't say it. He means sit down, get your act together, forgive him, and then say it. That's the way to do it. Not just don't say it. The Kaf HaChaim says not to say this Hareini Moichel on Shabbos. Now to me it was a pella. Why not? Bishleim a vidu that some say you can't say on Shabbos. Why can't you say this on Shabbos? And I looked at it, I found in the Yalkut Yosef, Reish Lametez Vav, Taka wonders what's wrong with saying it on Shabbos. I think the minig is to say it on Shabbos. Another part of the Krishma that many people do is a vidui. Now, the Magen Avraham says, some said a vidui shchid meira. But that says that's going too far because I'll tiftach pel something. I mean, sleep is 1/60 of the mitzvah, but it's not shchid meira. But some form of pishpush b'maisim, if you did something wrong, to be mizvada. Those that do say a vidui, and especially Sfardim have a whole nusach, or Chassidim go to Ariya Kaddish, the special nusach, that has to be said standing. Because vidui is always ba'amida, and additionally that has to be said, that should not be said on Shabbos or Yom Tov. There's another part of the Krishma some have that is based on the Kitzur Shlo, to put your hand on the mezuzah and say Hashem Shemri, Hashem Tzili, the Kitzur Chonorach and Ayin Aleph Dalid also mentions this minig, and to say various psukim. I want to leave them with one ha'ara that is very important to me because it's something to get to all of us every night, and I'm not convinced that I have the full clarity. Simple question. There are 3 parts of Krishma, as we saw, 3 independent parts, 3 Gemaras. What is the order for them to be said on a regular basis? So if you ask me, I always look at the Gemara. The Gemara is the best source of information. The Gemara in Brachas Daf Samach Amud Beis says the Ferish, Krias Shema, and then hamapil. Okay, that's good. But what about the Psukim? So it makes sense that why do we put hamapil last? Because hamapil v'day musela, go to sleep right away. It's not a bracha on sleep mamish, but it's mice the bracha on sleep. So we say hamapil last, Krishma before that. So now that you expanded the Krishma to also say Psukim, when do you say the Psukim? First. So it's Psukim, Krishma, and hamapil. There's another reason for that, and that is, this is one of the Soidis Habri without doubt, especially if you have children. You ask, when are you ready to go to sleep? Yes. You ready to say hamapil? Yes. Say hamapil. He says hamapil, and after hamapil, there's a dozen things to do. He got thirsty, he has to go to the bathroom. He forgot to say svira, he didn't say Kiddush Levana, he didn't bench, he didn't say burn the flushes. A dozen things to do after hamapil. Talking out after hamapil is not pashut. Talking out after Krishma is not pashut. The Gemara says not to. Mr. Brewer said to repeat the Krishma, maybe he spoke out. But talking out after the Psukim is no problem. So if a person has children or he has a wife and he might have to talk after Krishma, the best idea, at least to me, is say the Psukim and say, anything else to say? Anything else to do? Do I have to say Hamad? Do I have to say Svira, Ma'ariv, benching? Then Krishma and Hamapil. And this is what I thought and this is what I do, which really makes the most sense. If you look in the Ramah, the Shulchan Aruch says, like the Gemara, say Krias Shema, hamapil, and then the Shulchan Aruch adds all the psukim. In other words, the psukim are last. Zok the Mishnah Berurah, the psukim are not a hefsik, because that's part of the Shmira. The Goyen calls it, it's a Krias Ma'arichta. So the question is, why is that done? Why do you put the psukim last? So maybe the word is that you want to have a Shmira before you go to sleep. But this Lachar, this Seid is a Chiddush. But if you look at all the Sidurim, Kamat, all the standard Sidurim say hamapil, Krias Ma, and then psukim, which is really hard to understand. That's not like the Gemara. The Gemara says Krias Ma and then hamapil. So the Mishnah Berurah says the following. Really, you should say Taka, not that order. But someone that B'teva falls asleep 68 seconds after he starts Krias Ma, he's out cold. So if he's going to say like the Gemara, Shema, and then hamapil, he'll never say hamapil. So by default, he has to first say hamapil. Hopefully he'll get that. And that's the order of the Sidurim. So therefore, to me it was a plea. That means most of us, like hopefully all of us, that we say Krias Ma like a Yid, we don't fall asleep. Why are we following the Siddur? Hamapil, Krias Ma, and Psukim. So I looked into this. I looked at Ian. I found the Maimah Mordechai and the El Yerabah. Taka say like my order. Say the psukim, then you can be mafsik, then you say Krias Ma, and then you say hamapil, which makes the most sense. You follow the Seder of the Gemara, and you just put the psukim first. Some Sidurim taka have hamapil at the end, the Siddur HaGra, the Oitzat Tfilis, but they have Shema and then hamapil. So I asked a few Talmidei Chachamim, what's pshat? And he told me, l'chor it's pashut. Because really, the ikka of the Krias Ma is the Shema. So what do you put first, the ikka or the tafel? So you put the ikka, and then you put the psukim, and then you put hamapil. And that's, you see some Sidurim. But what I wanted to mention is, maybe also, for those that have to talk out, or they want to drink, or they want to do something, they shouldn't follow the Siddur, because then you're going to have to repeat the Krias Ma. Better would be to say psukim, do what you have to do, then you say hamapil, and then you say Krias Ma and hamapil. Now, someone added, maybe the reason to say the psukim at the end would be to end the last words, Rigzu V'al Techatu, which is the source of Krias Ma. So this is what I found. If you have more clarity, I'd love to hear. Guten Tag, see you all.
Shem Irgin Shir, like to be a secretary Smith. Today's shir, I'd like to remind them tomorrow at 1 o'clock will be a special kinnis. Shuva, Madin from the Mashgiach. We're going to have done Segel Shlit at 1 o'clock. If you can't make it, you can listen on the phone or watch on the stream. The instructions on the flyer. The Smith will give a seekum of today's shir in 5 minutes.
Yes, sorry. This is like I said. You have to. Can you stand up for that? don't see it right now. Good job. Since Monday we'll do it. I'm up with you. It must be like that. What do you don't say now? Some don't say it. Gary doesn't say it. You have to chatzos, some say. Simcha. Simcha, ready? Ready. Very good. No, that's why I asked him if he knows how to start.
Ready? Everybody say we didn't say hamapil yet, so we can still talk and say the sikum, don't go to sleep. Sikum.
Just the chaz we learned today, there's no doubt about it, this unusual importance, unusual package is called the hamita. The fact that the Gemara says that's going to sleep like a guy if one doesn't, or if a carrot, a yid goes to sleep shachav kari, then yizgaba kari. But I think the point to appreciate the sugya is there are three independent parts. Really, it's mutually exclusive one of the other. There's the krishma, als the shmira, als the Torah. Hamapil is a bracha on sleep. And psukim is, I guess, an extension of the shmira. But the point is that a person has to realize that he needs the shmira, he needs the Torah, and he needs the hamapil to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for this gewaldige chesed that's called sleeping. Now, even if a person was yatzar krishma with his ma'ariv, he davened bizman, or he repeated it when he davened early, there is still this mitzvah, the rabbanan of Krias hamita. The main part of Krias is the Krias part. That's where there's a havmani to make a bracha. Hamapil is said on sleep, but that's put together because that's the most convenient way of doing it. The psukim were added by Rabbi ben Levi, some don't say it, some psukim were added later, but the main two parts are the krishma and the hamapil. One should not be mafsik after krishma because the daim usela. One should not be mafsik after hamapil, either like some it's a hefsik, or like most rishonim there's no hefsik, it's just the daim usela. But if someone does talk out after krishma, he should repeat the krishma part, but not repeat the hamapil part. The ik is to treat the krishma properly, be'aim with v'yera, not to be busy doing other things. It's a kedai to use a siddur or a bencha. You're allowed to say it in pajamas, you could say it even in bed, even laying, but it's kedai to be sitting up, at least for the krishma part. Some say it with hats and jacket, others say it with pajamas, with robe, but the ik is to say it appropriately for this very special mitzvah. The hamapil could be said in bed. Look at the words, the tefillah, for a chelik in Torah, for good children, and other things, not to have nisyanis. La'alacha, all you have to say is the first parsha with Baruch Shem, not Kel Melech Neman. Those that are makbid to say three parshias, they would have to add Kel Melech Neman to have 248 Evarim. Women should have to repeat Hashem Alekechem Emes. There is no difference, Talmud Chacham or a regular person, Bizman Hazeh. Woman should say krishma and the hamapil, but if they find it too difficult to say the whole thing, they should at least say the hamapil, the first parsha, and biyotchav kedruchi or v'hinoyam, at least minimally to say some type of shmira. It's very kedai to mechanech a child to say Krishma properly, Krishma Hamita. An Onen should say the psukim, the shmira, the shema. It's questionable if the Onen says the brach of hamapil mamish. Leil Shabbos, we definitely say regular Krishma. Leil Seder, only shema and hamapil. Someone asked me a good question. I didn't think it thoroughly enough. Maybe women should not say shema on Leil Pesach since it's only for Torah. They don't need that. They don't have a shaykhs to that Torah. Leil Tisha B'Av is the regular Krishma. Leil Sukkot is the regular Krias Shema. It's Kedai Tzereini Moichel. Even on Shabbos you're allowed to say that. For those that say Vidu, you have to stand and not to say it on Shabbos. The hand on the mezuzah is a later minig, but one point I wanted to hear more about, there is different orders as far as Krishma. The Siddur has hamapil, Shema, and then psukim. Some Siddurim put hamapil at the end, and as we came out, it makes sense to say the psukim, and then talk it or drink, whatever you have to do, and then say the hamapil, then say the Krias Shema, and then the hamapil and the ikka, like the Matamoisha ends off, Ata ben Adam, Im Tasaken, if you say Krishma properly, Im Tishkav, Loi Sivchad, you won't have bad dreams, V'shachavtecha, V'orva, Shnaschil, you'll have a good night's sleep. Why? No? You don't say this. He's a Yerushalmi. No. Some people